dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ New Kid, your girl.
Sierra Nicole.
Back on the channel, man. We got Cartoons Were Never Made for Kids by Patrick CC. Hey, somebody said, hey, y'all should check this one out. So I was like, hey, normally, we don't never do like old.
Yeah.
But Patrick actually got some good old joints. Sonny do too, though. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we decided to, go check out an old one. Because it was recommended. Y'all know we typically do a lot of cartoon clips and reactions around here. So, do I believe cartoons were never made for kids? Certain cartoons.
Yeah, certain. I'm about to say some of it, depending on what it is.
Certain ones were made, but majority of cartoons were never made for kids. It's made for them. I don't know what, like not teens, but them teens that's finna turn adults, like 16 and up. I think a lot of cartoons are made for.
You think so?
Like Family Guy, King of the Hill, American Dad, for 16 and up, more mature audience. You know what I'm saying? But below that, I don't think you should be watching a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? But hey, to each his own. With that being said, because you got to think about the gruesomeness, the vulgar language, a lot of stuff goes on in these cartoons.
It does.
So make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go if you want to first support. All you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
like it with a thumbs up.
Thanks, man. Let's go. Let's check this one out. Let's see what Patrick got to talk about with cartoons. Let's roll it.
Cartoons are not for children. Okay, for like 40 years they were almost exclusively for kids, but they weren't originally created for them. Some of the most successful and iconic animations of the past 30 years were specifically designed for adults. And aside from a few iconic Disney creations, it's safe to say cartoons are more enjoyable when they are constructed for older audiences. Today I'm going to take you all on a nostalgia trip, covering adult cartoons from their inception in the 1920s all the way to the crowning point of Adult Swim, the mecca of adult animations. Drink water. In the 1920s, Hollywood was booming, producing an average of 800 feature films per year. There were some cartoons, but they were still in early development. The few cartoons that were made in the 20s were shown at cinemas before a feature film. They were essentially short films with no dialogue, just music and sound effects. It was also in the 1920s where there was a big push for harsher censorship in films and theatrical performances. The Supreme Court ruled in 1915 that free speech did not extend into motion pictures. A lot of films, such as the ones performed at the New York stage, had mature content, nudity, cursing, and adult subject matter. It was like the Wild West with no rules and regulations.
I remember I had to take a class and we had to go over all that shit, bro. I hated that. Like,
you didn't enjoy it?
Huh?
You did not enjoy it?
Nah, like history of music, hated that motherfucker. Talk about we went back in time with some shit. I'm just like, bro, nobody cared. And then I ain't gonna hold you, our professor. He was from the UK. Oh. Black guy. I said, bro, you are boring me, bro. And then another one, we learned more about the film business.
Yeah.
And that one, that's when I found out like how porn is supposed to be as you film. Mm. Like he told us like how a lot of porn, the reason why they do the setup is the way it is because they have to do that. Mm. So like with the little skits and how they meet up and stuff, and they gotta act the scene out and stuff. They have to do that because of regulations as far as because if they just went in straight,
then it'll be considered.
Yeah, they can go to jail. They can get sued for this. Yeah. Or get fined for it, whatever.
1927, there was a censorship committee formed by Will Haze, a Republican politician, to propose some do's and don'ts in the film industry. It took a while for these suggestions to become an actual enforced code, known as Hays Code, and in the meantime, cartoons would take advantage of the minimal regulations. This was known as the pre-code era. Betty Boop. She was a caricature of the 1930s flapper, a woman with more love to give than knowledge to share, typically depicted as being innocent yet scandalous. She had a baby face but the body of a grown woman. Many of these early productions were heavily sexualizing Betty and other animated women. Some of these straight up glamorizing
you like your job?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think if I were you, I'd go somewhere. You better come out with me tonight. Have some dinner.
You mean?
They pretty much depicted every way possible a woman's dress could get removed from her body. Betty exploded in popularity. However, with the enforcement of Hays Code in 1934, the animation studio was required to button up Betty's image. She went from being a free spirit flapper to a housewife/career girl who wore fuller dresses.
I ain't never seen Betty Bob like this. I was seeing like the other way, not like this. And then you see how perverted this shit is, bro. You got a childlike image face with a grown woman body.
Yep.
That's the reason why. But you got to realize, back in the day, mainly entertainment was ran by men. You know what I'm saying? Really went on women input. It's just what men sexualized about.
Yeah.
Was a young face, but a filled out body. Which most of them still to this day.
Sadly.
Girls got straightened out, her earrings got smaller, and she slowly became more mature. She even smelled different. Okay, we don't know how she smelled, but I think we can all agree smelling good is feeling good. Betty Boop was over, but would be aired on television progressively throughout the next 60 years, stamping her in cartoon history. Hays Code seemed to have uninspired animators to make cartoons for adults, because most of their humor at the time revolved around themes that were now banned by the code, so creators had to try and entertain the adult audiences inconspicuously through their children's shows. Animated shorts hit new strides in the 30s, with the creation of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Snow White. These animations were good enough to captivate audiences for extended periods of time. In the 40s, there was Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, Bambi. They were definitely designed for children, but parents could watch and be entertained. Storylines were basic, most of the humor came from silly faces, characters getting hurt, and just basic tropes that would make kids laugh. In 1949, the first animated television series was launched, called Crusader Rabbit. Gumby in the 50s was a groundbreaking new animation style, but most of the 50s was dominated by the same kid-friendly animations from the 40s. Television sales were exploding in popularity, but animated series were not regularly programmed yet. You had experimental 5-minute episodes programmed by various stations at different times. Popeye being one of the more famous ones, and was pretty much adult targeted, leaning into relatable humor, the best kind. That was a joke. Focused on the working class man and relating to his struggles. Like, wow, the pipe broke on this sink. Oh my god, I hate when that happens. There was a massive shift in the 60s. The birth of Hanna-Barbera animations. Basically every American household has a TV now. You had the Flintstones, the Jetsons.
Why you shake your head like you already knew all this information?
No, I tell you all the time. I'm not shaking like I know the information. I'm shaking like, okay, wow. Like,
I'm consuming the information.
Yeah, it's not that I know it all.
Animations. Basically every American household has a TV now. You had the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Pink Panther, Scooby-Doo, Spider-Man, Hulk, so many more. Regularly scheduled cartoons enjoyed by millions so you don't have to go to the cinema to see animation. There was more variety, better writing, still leaning into the working class man and the modern family, but the colors were brighter, the scenes and animation were more imaginative. TVs in general were more creative and fun. Most of these cartoons were still family friendly, designed for children, yet really enjoyable for adults to watch as well. The 70s was the birth of Nickelodeon, however, the mid-70s to mid-80s would be the weakest era for new cartoons. The 70s were carried by shows that were started in the 60s. Critics, whoever they are, say the golden age of animation ended in 1972. Obviously, everyone born in the 70s or later would say that's cap, but many of the most critically acclaimed, financially successful, and culturally significant animated films and cartoons were released from the 20s to the early 70s. However, they had significantly less variety and less competition, so it's a lot easier for those cartoons to have a bigger impact. These old cartoons were considered to be more lifelike, emotionally relatable, and contained valuable lessons. But a lot of adults may argue that cartoons are not a place where they want to learn life lessons, and rather escape into a creative and complex alternate reality. Not to remind them how much their boring life is just like this boring cartoon. To no surprise, cartoon ratings were plummeting, resulting in budget cuts and then the release of low-budget animations that didn't have a lasting impact. The 1980s, you had the birth of the...
Well, Charlie Brown did last, don't you think?
For a little minute.
Charlie Brown, I think, was very impactful. Like,
Baby.
Snoopy?
I love Mr. Charlie Brown.
You know what I'm saying?
and the release of low-budget animations that didn't have a lasting impact. The 1980s, you had the birth of the Disney Channel. Shows like The Smurfs, Thomas the Tank Engine, and Alvin and the Chipmunks were hits for children, but the late 80s felt like cartoons were catering to their teenage and adult audiences a lot more. At this point, for almost 40 years, cartoons were perceived to be for children and almost exclusively designed for children. Like, it started out exclusively for adults, then immediately did a 180 for kids, and was slowly building towards being designed for adults again. Teens were waking up in the morning, eating cereal, watching tunes, and chilling on the couch after school, watching tunes. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, RoboCop. These were designed more so for teenagers and opened up a lot more opportunities for advanced animation, more action, and more advanced storylines that could be understood, not just ha-ha bonk on the head humor. There were a plethora of new shows being premiered only to be discontinued after a season or so. The scenes were more imaginative and immersive. Unfortunately, a lot of the shows didn't stick or become as culturally long-lasting as shows made in the 90s. But in 1989, something big happened. A cartoon written and designed for adults without being racist or overly sexual. The Simpsons. The Simpsons is not written for kids, it's written for adults. Was said by Matt Groening, who created the show. Matt was a visionary. He knew that the mainstream audience wanted and needed an adult-oriented cartoon show, so he made it happen. Homer Simpson and Marge Simpson are married with 3 children, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. They live in the middle America town of Springfield. It was an animated sitcom without the laugh track, leaning into a classic sitcom storyline, the average American family. Breakfast.
And then I think some. If you look at it now, a lot of cartoons took after them because now everything is kind of want to do this relatable household.
Yeah.
So you got Family Guy, a family sitting around. You know what I'm saying? You got American Dad sitting around family. Hank Hill, King of the Hill, sitting around family. The only one I say, well. I can't speak on it. I'm finna say South Park, but I'm not 100% into South Park to know like the whole plot, the story, the setup. Because most of the time when I see something about South Park, it's just with the kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I don't know how family derived because it's really not a family joint. Yeah, no. You know what I'm saying? It's not. To be honest, it's meant for adults. Right. It's but kids are the main ones who watch.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Which is so crazy.
Laugh track, leaning into a classic sitcom storyline, the average American family. Breakfast in the morning, conflict in the day, resolution at night. It was as basic as it gets in terms of understanding the general plot. Just watch the first episode and you have almost all the background information needed to watch the next 32 seasons. Although it was basic in nature, every episode was a new day and the creative possibilities were endless. Homer would overreact, get in ridiculous situations, and handle them how basically nobody would handle them.
How about that rain check for the last night?
Nah! Don't look at me!
The animation style stood out from the rest immediately. They were all yellow, they all had extremely unique features like huge mouths and weird-shaped heads. The show was carried by the extensive array of wacky side characters, all that have memorable characteristics and are voiced by unique and talented actors. The most successful primetime cartoon in history at this point. The Simpsons Season 1 in 1990 averaged a whopping 27 million viewers per episode. The Simpsons proved that a cartoon designed just for adults can not only be successful, but be the most successful. Liquid Television. Produced by MTV and released in 1991, it was a compilation of animated shorts by independent artists. They were pushing the boundaries of animation, and all of it was catered to adults. It was like this little secret network within a network that only a few knew about, which sounds familiar. This was the birth of Beavis and Butthead, which was a crude, humored show about 2 dumbasses who couldn't do anything right.
We tricked him. He's probably like, there's nobody here.
And were obsessed with the idea of getting laid.
Ladies beware.
Sure, it only lasted a few seasons, but it is culturally iconic. At the time, this was groundbreaking in terms of what comedy and adult cartoons could be.
Primarily. But let me say this though, like my favorite, like when it comes down to like MTV joints, was Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh.
Like, I don't know why, but Celebrity Deathmatch, I used to want to watch that shit all the time, bro. I ain't really care for Beavis.
Groundbreaking in terms of what comedy and adult cartoons could be.
Primarily children watch cartoons, but adults watch cartoons too. In fact, in the evening, on the average evening, more adults are tuned to the Cartoon Network than are tuned to CNN.
That was Ted Turner, creator of the iconic Cartoon Network. Ted was a visionary who knew how badly the world needed cartoons. His strategy started with buying the rights to every cartoon ever made. Sounds like an overstatement, but let me break it down. Ted founded CNN, the very first 24-hour news network in 1980. 1 year later, he purchased MGM Studios and United Artists for $1.5 billion, in which he sold a portion to cut down on the debt. He remained with MGM's pre-1986 library, which included thousands of films, but more importantly, a ton of classic cartoons. Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, Popeye, the list goes on. In 1991, he purchased almost all of Hanna-Barbera Productions' catalog, which included the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, and many, many more. Basically, Ted now owned the rights to every popular cartoon made in the last 60 years that wasn't made by Disney. And with that, he started the first ever 24-hour network dedicated to strictly cartoons. The Cartoon Network did not explode in popularity right away. It was a bunch of reruns of old shows acting as a little nostalgia kick for older folks. This ultimately was a genius strategy because imagine trying to start a 24-hour network with 0 shows that people knew. It would be impossible to get off the ground. So the network started with only old shows and got to work producing originals. Just when you think TV is going to be taken over by all adult animations, we got another renaissance of children's cartoons on Nickelodeon. Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Kablam, Ah Real Monsters, Hey Arnold. Nickelodeon.
Yo, I forgot about Kablam. Yo. Oh, the nostalgia. Damn.
Doug was my show.
Hey Arnold was
Hey Arnold was my show.
Everybody
loved Rugrats. Yeah, so that's
Ren and Stimpy was the edgy joint.
Yeah.
But we never looked at Ren and Stimpy like the Pinky and the Brain. Bruh, Nickelodeon was good. All Real Monsters. Like, Nick has go.
Was the go-to place for children's cartoons, even though some of these early cartoons were barely for kids. While Disney was producing the perfect imagination land where everything is happy and nice, Nickelodeon was bringing totally original animation styles, grim scenery, and taking creative risks. Cartoon Network slowed down on airing old shows in 1996, and they were ready to roll out their originals: Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's safe to say in the 90s, the line between what cartoons are for adults and what cartoons are for children is very blurry. It could be because the censorship that was enforced in the 30s wasn't really challenged for 50 years or so when The Simpsons came out. I'm not saying that the 90s cartoons were edgy, but they were a little darker, more intrepid, more intense, and overall more adult appealing. The 90s in general were a little darker and rebellious towards the 80s, where everything was seen as loud, colorful, and glamorous. Counterculture became cool, grunge music and gangster rap became popular, so cartoons really blended in with the aesthetic of the culture. We are going to be different, so let's be cool and reserved and do exactly the opposite of what the 80s would do. South Park, 1997. The first episode was crass, in-your-face humor.
Ike, you can't come to school with me. Yeah, go home, you little dildo. Dude, don't call my brother a dildo. What's a dildo?
This show was not for kids, which is funny because it's a bunch of 4th graders. At this point, The Simpsons proved you can make fun of pop culture, make fun of politics, make edgy, rude jokes while entertaining millions of people and creating a 9-figure worth show. South Park is not unique in its use of satirical humor, but it is one of the most effective satires due to its production format. The scripts for episodes are not written before the season begins, but the production of an episode begins on a Thursday with the creators, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and the show's writers brainstorming ideas for the episode. The script will be written, animated, and voiced for release on Wednesday nights, just 6 days of work. We work between 100 and 120 hours in a 7-day week to deliver the episodes. This hectic production allows South Park to be in the zeitgeist of pop culture while it is happening. For example, in the season 4 episode Quintuplets 2000, the show nearly does a 1-to-1 recreation of a famous photo of a US Border Patrol raid during the Elian Gonzalez affair, an event that occurred 4 days before the show aired. The season 7 episode, It's Christmas in Canada, references the discovery and capture of Saddam Hussein, which happened 3 days before the episode aired. Season 12's About Last Night revolves around Barack Obama's presidential victory, which happened less than 24 hours before the episode aired. On the surface, the show appeals to almost any age group, but the news-like coverage of more serious current events is certainly appealing to an adult audience.
That turnaround time is fast.
It's fast, but I never even noticed. Like, I don't really.
You don't really what?
I about to say I wasn't really like watching it like that.
Yeah.
You know, anyway. What is it?
Just you good. I'll get it when we. I got it.
But like now that I know the information, it makes it even more like
crazy.
Yeah. Like you know, it's like I'm like, dang, that's dope.
I like what Patrick said though. Disney has always catered to like a softer image. I ain't never seen like any
super
Disney
happy, dreamy,
to be edgy.
Yeah.
Like the edgiest thing you might think of with a Disney cartoon is like Kim Possible. Because
and
she
that
was
wasn't
fighting,
even like,
you know what I'm saying, or the American Dragon, you know what I'm saying, like, cause he would fight and stuff. But other than that,
but for a lot of kids, that's cool.
You had Bear in the Big Blue House. I ain't gonna lie, I still try to go Big Blue House, trash. All-time trash cartoon.
You still trying to go do what?
Watch some of my old Disney joints. I'm talking about the ones you would watch in the morning time.
Yeah.
Solely for children. Mm-hmm. Like grade school children. Like Roly Poly. That was my joint. Roly Poly. I
loved all of those.
But
those were so
I still go back and watch those. Because it's about the nostalgia factor of it. But I ain't gonna hold you. If you like Bear in the Big Blue House, bro, your entertainment level is trash. That was the trashiest show ever. Every time that mug come on,
you used to turn.
I'm turning the TV no matter what. I don't care.
I couldn't even tell you nothing about this show, really.
It was just a big ass bird in a blue house. That's all I know.
But the news-like coverage of more serious current events is certainly appealing to an adult audience. South Park has won 5 Primetime Emmy Awards as well as the prestigious Peabody Award, which honors excellence in storytelling that reflects the social issues and the emerging voices of our day. South Park remains one of Comedy Central's highest-rated programs, and in 2021 was renewed through 2027. 2 years after South Park came Family Guy, another soon-to-be iconic adult animated series, focused on a New England family, which was reminiscent of The Simpsons with a moronic father, stay-at-home wife, and of course, the 3 kids. The first episode aired on Fox immediately after Super Bowl 33 to 22 million viewers. Season 1 maintained high viewership, but would dwindle through the second and third seasons. Following the third season's declining viewership, Fox decided to cancel the show in 2002. Hard to imagine a time where Family Guy wasn't totally loved. Maybe it was just too similar to The Simpsons? This wasn't the end of the Griffins. There would be a savior coming to their rescue. The 2000s, a new century. This meant change. Changing back into kid-friendly cartoons? Again? Nickelodeon started drifting from the grim, dark cartoons to more companionable and kid-friendly with the additions of SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, The Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power, Jimmy Neutron. They still had Invader Zim.
I put all of them except for SpongeBob.
You know something? People used to rave about SpongeBob, like growing up, and I never.
No. I typically our age group didn't fuck with SpongeBob. It was like the few ages, like the late.
I had some classmates that like was.
For real?
Like used to be head over heels for
everything
SpongeBob.
he said, Rocket Power, Wild Thornberrys.
Those was my show.
Fairly Odd Parents.
I never
I'm
understood
rocking
the
with all of those.
SpongeBob. Like I could never really like get into it like that.
You know what I felt like with SpongeBob? I felt like they were trying to have SpongeBob take over the feeling that Rugrats had with people.
I don't know.
You know how Rugrats had a tight hold on us?
Yeah.
I think they wanted SpongeBob to have that tight hold.
Did you watch SpongeBob?
Yeah.
I watched it
like,
here and there.
I ain't like Cat Dog either like that though.
I love Cat Dog.
Cat Dog? Cat Dog?
I love Cat Dog. You sleeping.
No.
Fairly Odd Parents, The Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power, Jimmy Neutron. They still had Invader Zim, Cat Dog, and Danny Phantom. Disney Channel was even more kid-friendly. Cartoon Network was kind of the place where the cool teenagers indulge. But it was spiraling down pretty fast. The network had a new CEO when the company was merged with Time Warner AOL. New ownership and new leadership will lead to changes.
No wonder why y'all failed though.
Yeah.
Think about it. You should have kept it right. No.
Well, I wanted to hear it in its entirety because I forget.
But y'all look who y'all merged with. All those are collapsed now.
Facts.
Like you got to think about it, like, cause what was that article I saw the other day? They said
with Yahoo and
she bought Yahoo. Did I watch something?
You read an article. You told me about it.
But she had bought the CEO of some company. Or was it a Patrick video?
No, you told me about it.
So she regretted because instead of purchasing Amazon or Netflix, or she purchased something and that flopped. Was the CEO of Yahoo?
But she
purchased something.
She purchased something. She was already the CEO of that, but she had purchased something else, and she regretted that purchase
because she never bought into Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon.
I can't remember what actually she had purchased.
I forgot whatever she had purchased flopped.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn.
I can't even think of it. But
she had purchased two things. They both flopped. And I said, look at that. I said Yahoo flopped, and the other two companies she purchased flopped. But I forgot.
I cannot remember.
CEO when the company was merged with Time Warner AOL. New ownership and new leadership will lead to changes. All of their iconic shows like Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, and Courage were getting canceled. They rebranded, launched a few new shows that are beloved today but weren't necessarily hits at the time. Codename Kid Next Door, Billy and Mandy, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. These shows were a little bit softer compared to previous Cartoon Network originals and were loved by children, but not teenagers and adults. So there was a gap in the market. There wasn't a go-to place where adults could escape into an animated universe and not have to worry about censorship and juvenile humor. Until 2001, with the birth of Adult Swim, the very first animated network designed specifically for adults.
Adult Swim. All kids out of the pool.
The branding was clever, all kids out of the pool, because now it was time for the adults to have some fun without all the childishness. The shows often had a more mature sentiment, coarse language, and sexual innuendos. The Adult Swim programming block launched just 2 nights a week, with one of those being just a repeat of the other. Original series would be aired such as Aqua Teen Hunger Force, The Brack Show, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, C-Lab 2021, and more. Adult Swim kinda had a cheat code to launch the network. Since Ted Turner purchased the Hanna-Barbera catalog in the 90s, they were able to use classic cartoons such as Scooby-Doo and new shows like Harvey Birdman. This may not seem like a big deal, but having the rights to a classic cartoon and being able to tell a new story around those 50-year-old characters is a huge advantage to gaining new viewership. Imagine your dad flipping through the channels and seeing Yogi Bear on the witness stand. He would be confused but interested to see one of his childhood cartoons be reimagined. Adult Swim could arguably get the credit for introducing Americans to anime, broadcasting popular shows like Cowboy Bebop and Mobile Suit Gundam. By late 2002, the network was becoming more interested in obtaining the rights to animated series that had been canceled. Again, knowing how hard it is to make new cartoons and get a new audience when you can just capture an already existing audience. One of the first and more notable of these was Futurama, which they obtained the rights to reruns for a reported $10 million. Jim Samples, Cartoon Network's executive VP, said, "Futurama reruns will take our Adult Swim programming to a whole different level." Adult Swim would come to the rescue for another show, which would become a pivotal moment for both the network and the series. Family Guy. 3 seasons that had previously aired on Fox would now have a new home on Adult Swim. The president of Fox tried selling Family Guy, but nobody wanted it. We ended up giving them to Cartoon Network basically for free. In 2003, it became the block's top-rated program. The Griffins boosted the viewership of Adult Swim and Cartoon Network as a whole by 239%. The same week Family Guy aired on Adult Swim, Fox released the first 2 seasons on DVD. 400,000 copies within a month were sold. The reruns and DVDs were so successful that Fox ordered 35 new episodes of Family Guy in 2004. Adult Swim officially brought the show back from the dead. With a massive increase in viewership, the Adult Swim block was expanded from 2 to 5 nights a week. Adult cartoons were about to take over. 2005 to 2015 would arguably be the peak of Adult Swim. Futurama and Family Guy were bringing in the consistent new viewers who were slowly and surely getting into the network's originals such as Venture Bros and Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Man, you gotta check this out.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's a neat car she's washing. You think that's a straight 6?
I think I have a straight 6.
Ooh, your sexual innuendo is priceless.
Iconic long-running...
Want me to tell you the problem with... I said one problem with Cartoon Network just finding out this information. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't never going to guarantee to... So it doesn't surprise me that they collapsed recently. Mm-hmm. Reason why... Y'all success was just bought off the fact that everything y'all will buy will be a hit on y'all network. Y'all can never really produce a show brand new that will make a real hit the same way the shows that you already bought the rights to made the hit, like Family Guy, big hit.
Yeah.
Even the introduction is like all the old nostalgic. Y'all really rely heavily on nostalgic or things that y'all bought from other places. Yeah, y'all had a couple shows, but y'all biggest shows on the network were stuff that y'all bought and tried to help y'all keep float. And when you do stuff like that, and you can't 100% create something that can last like a Family Guy of your own,
it's not a guarantee that it'll be successful.
Yeah, I don't think the network was gonna ever really last.
Yeah.
Because the model was basically the more money we got, the more we can buy. But eventually people gonna get, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna feed for, like, unlike Nickelodeon and Disney, where we got years of Nickelodeon recreating, changing up their system. They're still changing up to this day. Disney as well.
Yeah.
And the company's still floating.
Shows like Robot Chicken and the Boondocks would be introduced.
I tried. Sorry, honey, sorry. I just gotta crap like a bastard. I can't wait.
Syndicated classics, King of the Hill and American Dad are running.
My dude! Yeah! How could you do this to me, Puff Puff?
In 2007, they would expand their programming to 7 nights a week, even branching out of animation with the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, the Eric Andre Show, Loiter Squad. Although its popularity was at an all-time high, Adult Swim still felt like this dark corner of TV that only people with a secret password were allowed to watch. These were shows you escape into when you're alone at night and with all the lights off, not with the whole family in the living room. You built relationships with the characters and became emotionally invested. If you were young, you didn't want your parents to find out what you were watching. Adult Swim gave up-and-coming creators a chance to display their animations to the masses. They embraced underground hip-hop and lo-fi, which at the time had very little representation. They were also known for their iconic bumps, which were 5 to 10 second segments after the show and before commercials. Also after the commercials and before the show. These bumps took away an extra commercial or two to provide a nice transition for the viewer. Most networks would just run another commercial for the bag. They were designed to be relaxing, usually accompanied with a creative or funny visual and calm music. The black screen with white text became the most iconic bump style. In 2021, people were creating their own Adult Swim bumps on TikTok, and it was probably the best trend I've ever seen on that app. Adult Swim wasn't this roaring financial beast like Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or even its host Cartoon Network, but they were creating culture and satisfying a market that was so desperately in need of something beyond Family Guy and The Simpsons. Cartoon Network had a second boom in the 2010s with Adventure Time, Regular Show, and The Amazing World of Gumball, while Disney and Nick were hanging on for dear life. However, Adult Swim would get blessed with the introduction of Rick and Morty in 2013. Rick and Morty follows Rick Sanchez, a cynical mad scientist, and his timid grandson Morty. These two split their time between a complicated home life and interdimensional space travel. There aren't enough words to explain the imaginative and insane plot lines in this show. It's been memed heavily and the mainstream audience definitely makes it seem a bit cringe, but it's a really great show even still to this day. Throughout its
But like Rick and Morty is still based off of something that has already happened before. So it's again with the same concept. The concept.
But I will say it's still fresh though.
But the concept is not new.
I mean, yeah, cool, but it's still
even Robot Chicken, like you see the inclusion of things from other shows.
I mean, true, yeah.
But do you get what I'm saying? Like it never was nothing like those, like 100%.
But it worked for them.
Yeah, it worked. For how long?
I mean.
It definitely makes it seem a bit cringe, but it's a really great show even still to this day. Throughout its 5 seasons, Rick and Morty has measured an average viewership of 1.67 million viewers, which in the modern streaming era is excellent. Its influence around the world is immense, with multiple video games, tabletop games, memes, and music. But as you know, the way most of these videos end, the streaming era, the downfall of television and birth of social media leads to the rapid dwindling relevance of these networks. Half of the people watching this video don't have cable anymore or don't care to watch it. The others won't be purchasing HBO Max or any other streaming services to watch new or even old classic cartoons. Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, Nick, they're doing fine. Times are different now. There are too many streaming services and too many social media platforms for cartoons or networks to have much cultural impact. Children's animations are definitely more financially successful and popular. Watching them later on in life is a heavy dose of innocence and youthfulness. But the longevity and day-to-day value that adult cartoons bring is unmatched. No matter where you decide to watch them, whether they are old or new, adult cartoons are and always will be the superior animations.
You agree with that?
I do. I do.
Why you agree with it? Because, let me say this. The reason why I'm kind of like, yeah, adult cartoons going to always be superior, especially nowadays, it makes more sense saying that because kids can't afford shit. Adults can't. And the way y'all are moving now, most people, I think, like, one reason why Disney Plus works so well is because of those 80 and 90 babies. Nostalgia.
Which one?
Disney Plus.
Oh.
The reason why it works so well is because of those 80 and 90s baby. You can go in there and you can watch stuff that you used to watch as a kid. And so it's like, now we are those from the 70s and 80s, the 60s and 70s that was finding these cartoons in the 90s. It's like, oh, I remember school. Y'all don't know shit about Scooby-Doo. Yeah. So now they're doing that to us now. We're like those, and we like, damn, bro, let me watch Disney Plus. And they'll throw a new show on there. You be like, since you already on there, you go check out what's new. You know what I'm saying? Check out the new show. You see how they did all of us with the Proud Family on there? Yeah. Like, we always like, oh, bro, like, but we ain't take to it like we took to the Proud Family back in the day. Some did, some didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
some enjoyed it.
I say this, the only reason why Paramount Plus, I feel like, don't thrive is because, for one, we have Paramount Plus. The navigation of it is kind of ass.
The navigation it sucks.
The navigation of it is ass because you like really
they need to do something about that. Yeah.
What you want to see, they don't advertise to you. Even when you go in there and set it up, it's not boom. But once you get in there, everything you watched as a child, especially if you're a 90s baby, it's on there. Even Nick at Night is on there. You know what I'm saying?
They have some good stuff on there. It's just the navigation with that.
And it's the fact that it's Paramount Plus. A lot of people like Paramount.
Yeah.
But that's the company. It is not like, if it was like how Disney Plus, if it had like a Nick Plus, everybody would be like, oh, I'm on that. You know what I'm saying? But they're not
understanding that same stuff, it's under this.
But Paramount Plus is not a known name to most people, so it's not marketed right. That's the only reason. Then HBO, now they're going to Max, but people also fail to realize, I don't think marketing is 100% key, because now HBO Max, which is finna turn to Max now, has a lot of TV shows we watched in the 90s as well, from Wayans Brothers, Jamie Foxx show, In the House, Parenthood, like a lot of those like black sitcoms that were like, yo,
they're on HBO Max,
that you watch in like the late 90s, early 2000s now are on HBO Max, and more are to come. So you just gonna like, cause like I keep going on there and I'm like, oh, they got this on there. New. Yeah. Like I do think, you know what I'm saying, we are in a nostalgic era that's very impacted by those 90 kids now that have the jobs, are in the corporate world, can't afford to purchase these apps. Like I think like Peacock, I don't find myself going on Peacock. Peacock really don't have me what I want as a nostalgic. I rarely even go on Netflix now. I go on Hulu before I go on Netflix.
I go on Netflix. I go on Hulu.
But I'm saying I feel like going forward, because Netflix always with the price changing and always with canceling shows. So you might get attached to a show
and then it be gone.
And I hate how they throw out their shows because it's new. I hate the binge watch effect. I actually like Hulu. Reason why I like Hulu
because you get an episode at a time. You look forward to something.
And so I'm like, all right. And so one day we might be like, all right, let's catch up on our shows. Yeah. We start watching this and this and this. Are we caught up?
And you know something? I was watching something recently on Netflix, and I like started, it was so good, and I couldn't stop watching it. And so I just watched the whole thing. And when I was done, I was like, okay,
You ain't got
what's
nothing to look
next?
forward to.
Like, yeah, I'm like, dang, now I gotta find something new. So I do like that effect, like with Hulu, that episode at a time, you know. And I'm like, okay, I can't wait till next Thursday or next Wednesday or whatever, you know.
Because even though it's coming on TV, I might not be like, damn, we got cable. We just hardly ever watch cable. So we ain't catching the show when it's supposed to be aired. So we follow back on Hulu and actually, because we got shows that are on air right now, but we be like, we gonna catch it on Hulu. And we gonna be ready to, you know what I'm saying, when we can.
Yeah, that's crazy though.
But I enjoy that factor of it. So that's the reason why I'm like, Netflix gonna do them, you know what I'm saying? They're powerhouse. But I think Paramount, if they market it a little different, I 100% believe
that
they will blow up. Hulu, they still gonna thrive because they in the Disney and ESPN bundle. Peacock.
Peacock will do, I guess. I don't know if it's gonna be successfful long run.
Yeah. They put new shows on there, but I ain't gonna hold you.
Well,
I haven't watched the new season of Fresh Prince. Then watched the TV series of Best Man.
I didn't watch that, and I did say that I have to catch the new season of Fresh Prince.
But Peacock, I feel like, and then a lot of people prefer to watch. Yo, Tubi even got some old throwback shit. If you really go on Tubi, look.
Well,
you ain't got to watch the bootleg BS. I ain't talking about that. I'm saying they got like 227, like shit, like
stuff
that.
like that. Yeah, you did tell me that. I don't really be watching. What is it called? Tubi like that. Yeah. Like I watch it like if you put it on. Yeah. But I was about to say Peacock may be successful because I do be seeing like shows, like dope shows that I be like, I want to catch that, and it drops on Peacock.
But I wonder how Apple TV gonna, because they don't have the rights to any nostalgia.
True.
So that's the problem.
I don't know, but yeah.
But hey, man, make sure y'all spam us up. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts and opinions.
Please do.
In the comment section down below. This is a lot of information I didn't know either.
Yeah. Good information, informative information. Yeah. For sure.
But as always, I do go by the name DJ Kid. This is
We are. Go and get it. Ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my folks. Dollar,